Hello and peace greetings to everybody. Welcome to the next series of the Global Peace series, right? So we have been running this amazing weekly sessions Sundays with our friends around the world. And as we evolved on it, the Global Peace series has come up. And why are we doing this? And we have amazing guests in the house. And first of all, let's welcome Dr. Amir Farid Isahak. Thank you, Dr. Amir, for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Yes, walaikum salam. And as we want to introduce Dr. Amir, we just want to reflect back how everybody in the world are out there seeking peace and wanting a peaceful, joyful, love-filled life. And this is something that has been the call for this year 2020, and it's very apt that we are starting this series in December because we want to remind ourselves on the gaps that has occurred or showed up in our lives in every aspect. It could be business, it could be relationship, it could be health, and it could be even at a personal space of emotional intelligence or emotional space of ourselves. All of us would have been challenged, at least in some extent, maybe not to the maximum, but at some extent in our life, to just remind us that we are seeking something that is already innately in us. So the Global Peace series, as we say in Go Global Business School, we are in the mission of global peace through global business. We have set out this series to really remind ourselves with mentors around the world who stand for peace as a way of life, and that's how they are showing up with us and sharing with us their knowledge, as well as some very, very important tips that we can apply in our life. And for us right now, we have Mr. Amir Farid, who is Dr. Amir Farid, who is really a doctor by profession, and he's a pioneer in the anti-aging medicine in Malaysia, and the former chairman of the Global Peace event, Peace Day event that's held in Malaysia. I think it's been running for a while, I think almost 10 years now, from the Universal Peace Foundation. He's a peace ambassador, interfaith advocate, and global speaker, Reiki master, as well as a former founding president of the Guolin Qigong Association, Malaysia. So this is a portfolio that everybody will be like, what? And by the way, he was also a star papers journalist who worked on the wellness and the holistic well-being of Malaysian, really reaching out to them, giving them all the diverse thoughts. I think I shouldn't be giving too much of information about him and let him share with us. And it's such a beautiful journey we have come together, and I have really grown to admire his work, his diversity, at the same time, his centeredness in the space that he operates, and his clarity in where he's growing himself. So I really take on him as a real mentor. Thank you, Dr. Amir. Once again, welcome for joining us today.
Thank you.
You know this word, every moment is a new beginning. As I spoke about it yesterday, last week as well, these words actually come out when I do the program. I mean, the posters, right? These words just come up. So I use them as a message for us. So this message came out for us as well. Every moment is a new beginning. And I feel that we can definitely talk about that in a while. But right now, as we want to, introduce you to the space, can you share with us a little bit more about, how you have grown yourself in this conversation of peace?
Okay. I have always had this inner urge to reach out to others, because it was obvious as we grow up that we are in some ways compartmentalized, right? Because we are different races, different religions, different cultures. So I was fortunate to go to a multiracial primary school, and I got very close to the kids of the other races. In fact, it was only a few years ago at one of our class reunions that my former primary school classmates reminded me that when we were in primary one, I had set up a club and I was the boss.
Okay.
Yeah. and it was called the Red Eagle Club. What? It's Standard One. It was. I have forgotten all that, but my friends reminded me. You were our boss in Standard One.
So you have this habit
Yeah,
of
and
reading.
I remember I had friends of all races and religions. But then after primary school, I went to a all Malay or Muslim secondary residential school. All right, so that was a different environment. But fortunately, after coming out from there and going to university and then working, uh, the old feeling of closeness and wanting to be friends and brothers to all just came back naturally. Of course, in Australia, while studying, then you're exposed to all races and all
That's right.
religions and even more. But when you come back to Malaysia, there's always that possibility that you return to what is the norm that we see most of the time here. The Malays are with the Malays, and the Chinese with the Chinese, and the Indians with the Indians. But the Chinese and the Indians tend to be more free in their mixing, but the Malays tend to be
More
just
restricted.
grouping about themselves, And I see this when I visited my daughter in one of the local universities. That when we went to the canteen, you can see so obvious that the Malays were with the Malays, but the Chinese
And the Indians.
and the Indians tend to be more mixed. But the Malays, even in university, they were, or inverted commas, segregated. I mean, it's not an enforced rule, but it's their natural behavior. So,
Actually, this is also what I think those who are listening to this, who knows our global work, we have been speaking about this, especially in Malaysia, how we can bring in business space, like we were talking about in school space. So now everybody know where it came from. Like, we grew up in that environment to have what's happening right now.
Yeah, but I'm glad that even in my own personal life, that is not true. Meaning, I have among the closest of my friends, to the point that like we are like brothers, and our children have grown up to be a family. Our Indian and a Chinese friend and their family. So we call ourselves the Mohibah family, and without fail, at least once a year, if not twice or three times a year, we have our Mohibah family gatherings, either at the homes or at the restaurants. But when I was moved to start getting involved in the religious field, and this was in late 80s. Even though I started with the Islamic NGOs, but I was yearning that I must have dialogues with those of the different religions. And on one occasion, I read about a Catholic priest, right, who I think was, if not a lawyer, a successful businessman. I think this is many years back. But the point was, his dad was a multi-millionaire and was hoping for him to take over the family business. But instead, he gave up everything and went and became a priest, a Catholic priest. Okay. So I read his story and I said, hey, this is a professional, all right, who is devoting his life to God, all right, in the way that he understood. So I'm also a professional. Well, of course, I have not given up everything and don't have to give up everything to serve God. But I would very much like to have a dialogue with this priest. So the only way to do that is because in Malaysia everything is sensitive. Like if you have a Muslim attending church, right, then that you may put the church in trouble, because it's all for non-Muslims only. All the interfaith programs at that time were for non-Muslims only. Then even if the interfaith programs cannot include Muslims at that time, what more the churches and temples. So the only way I could get to these people was actually to get crash their programs. At
Yes.
first, I actually wrote to this priest, and he was the priest in charge of one of the more um, established churches in Petaling Jaya. Then I wrote to him, but at the bottom I had to put one sentence said, "Don't worry, I'm not from the special branch trying to trap you. I really want to have dialogue with you." But I didn't receive any reply. So what I actually did was I actually attended his Sunday church service. I can pass off as a Filipino anytime.
Yeah, I was just going to tell you, for you, it's not a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah,
But
yeah,
when I
yeah.
come to
So,
Malaysia and attend any
yeah,
interfaith problem, it's like
yeah.
right on the face.
So I attended the Sunday service, or standard, whatever was permissible for Muslim to do, I do. But the other parts, I didn't follow lah.
Mm-hmm.
Then after the service, then I went up to him. I say, Father, I am actually a Muslim, and I stayed and listened to you for the last few hours, for the whole day. I think I deserve a dialogue with you. They say, oh yes, okay, fine. Then we arrange for the informal dialogues. Then I actually got, through him, I got to know another Jesuit priest, and actually became very close to that Jesuit priest. At that time, we were always almost like brothers. And then he used to invite me to the church when he was having his program. So I didn't have to gate crash anymore. I was invited. I was a regular at the church. And it reminded me of one gathering that he had. He had a special session with new converts to Catholicism, right? Whether from other branches of Christianity or from other religions, right? And he invited me to be an observer. So it was very nice of him. Then I remember, then one new convert then asked the priest, say, Father, you have described what is it that a Christian, a good Christian should be. Now, everything you described, I think my mother, who is not a Christian, deserves to go to heaven more than me, right? She is a devoted wife to my father, a devoted mother to me, much loved by our families, our neighbors. She is a real candidate to heaven, not me. But you said, but she's not Christian. There's no salvation for her. So the father said, we have a term for that. Those people who live their lives according to how Jesus would want us to live, then we call them anonymous Christians, right? They don't know, they know they're living the lives of Christians, but because they don't know Jesus, so they're anonymous Christians. So being anonymous Christians, you don't worry, your mother should go to heaven. So then that pleased the lady. So then after all the discussion, then he invited me, right, to give some remarks or observation. Well, of course, I thank him for inviting me, and then said I appreciated listening all the thoughts and the points brought out by the new converts. See, but I have a secret to tell you all. Right? They're wondering, what is that? I said, you all don't know, but you all anonymous Muslims. All right? Because those of you who are living the good lives of, right, as how we Muslims should be living, you don't know it, but you're anonymous Muslims. So, because you see, I look at many non-Muslims who are living lives, the Muslim way of life, apart from the theology and the rituals. They are better Muslims than many of the Muslims themselves. So yes. I don't want to be judgmental and say, if you're not Muslim, you don't go to heaven, you go to hell. I'm not God. I leave it to God. And there are verses in the Quran that says that, if you believe in God, you believe the last day, and you do good deeds, you need not worry. Anyway, that's the theology part. I just want to.
Everybody must be wondering when they are listening to you speak. Dr. Amir and Dr. Azeeza are speaking about this Christian story, and they
Yeah,
would be listening and wanting to know what is this whole
yeah,
dynamics of it. And you nailed it, Dr. Amir, that the
yeah,
fact that we are, regardless of the race, language, or religion, is the way of life that determines the quality of who we are and what we are meant to serve in this world, just with a label that's been given to us, and we embrace it 100% based on the systems that's been offered to us to follow a certain way of worship. I think we want to keep it as that, right?
yeah,
Just
yeah,
before we get into deeper conversation,
yeah,
let's
yeah, yeah,
play
yeah,
the
yeah.
game and
Okay,
see what comes out of it. I think it'll go deeper into this very important point
okay,
you brought
okay,
up as
okay.
well. Shall we do that?
Yes.
Yes, let's do this. So the game. I've briefly explained to you. So we play the game to find an answer for questions, or just like what we are doing today, a dialogue on what could be a message that we can give to our audience in terms of for everybody to receive, and that includes us, right? So we have this taking a deep breath in, just centering ourselves. That's the way that we run it. I just want to very quickly go to the page where it shows. This is all the conversations that we have. So this is what it is: taking a deep breath in and really, anchoring ourselves and thinking of a number between 1 to 100. Dr. Amir, what's your number between 1 to 100?
My number is just 4. No need to go very far.
Number 4. Let's look at that. Okay. So this is where we're going to be conversing on, and it's going to be very interesting. Can you see the words?
Very small. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Dreams keep us alive. To
Yeah.
realize dreams, lots of heartfelt efforts are required. Ultimately, it is those heartfelt efforts, the journey we embark on, that is much more exciting and meaningful than the realization of the dreams. Okay.
Right. So tell me, Dr. Amir, what do you get out of it? And I think it's very much aligned to the conversation we're having. It's about.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, for me, it's this dream is not just the typical dream that you have. It's the dream while you're awake. All right. And then my entire life, even though externally people see me as a medical doctor and a peace activist and a Qigong master and teacher, but in the background, there is a bigger purpose. All right, there's a much bigger purpose, and that is what this dream and this journey is all about. And the destination is not reached, and I don't really know what is waiting for me at the destination. But as the statement said, the journey in the dream has been very exciting, very fulfilling, and it's still unfolding. Or I guess the end of the journey is when I leave this physical world and meet my creator. Then I know what is there waiting for me.
What's the
So it's
wording?
like, yeah, for me that's a journey. Because well, it just so happens, on the 18th of November, that was 3 weeks ago, almost
3 weeks
almost
ago.
1 month ago. Today is already today is already the 13th, right? That was my 65th birthday, all right.
Yes.
And then suddenly, that is suddenly I made a decision. I must chronicle this journey. So I started writing on that very day and started my posting on Facebook,
Yes.
the chronicle of my spiritual journey, which actually just started quite late in my life
Well, we had
because
had many
I was born in 19.
conversations on this, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So I was born in 1955. So my spiritual journey only started in 1988 when I was 33. Yeah, I can answer that. Well, I consider it late. Right. So now I've just posted the sixth in the series yesterday. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? 2 days
Yeah.
ago. But that was only until 1991. So a long way to go. That's right. So only covered 3 years.
That's right.
For those who want to know the full journey, they have to wait. But maybe you can ask me which snippets you want to hear. I can
Yes,
share now.
absolutely. Because you gave me a very meaningful, all these years, knowing you for 10 years, we met in India, as we talked about it and we posted it. I'm from Singapore, you're in Malaysia. We ended up in India, meeting in India, even though I've heard of you from that organization, Universal Peace Foundation. It was like, let me wait for Dr. Amir to show up before I go back to Singapore. It's like, that was
Oh,
how excited I was to meet you because it was a non religious platform and yet very few Muslims are seen there, and yet you showed up. So for me it was a huge understanding of how neutral we can be in the space of connecting with people, at the same time holding the identities of what we are coming up with. And that kind of contradicts for people. They will not realize this importance of holding the identity and still being to I don't know whether it's the word identity is the right word. Let me be, but
mm,
I'm just saying it for the sake of that. But how do someone follow what they are meant to be following, yet be in that space of, you know, I you answered my question then, but I'm going to ask you again here because I
okay,
feel that it's
okay,
very important for people to know. Because when you dress in a certain way, you have a certain way of eating habits and certain way of, everybody have, the vegetarians have their own way of behavior. So how does everyone keep their own identity and still be a part of a community that seeks one purpose of peace?
okay. Very, very important and very good question, because along the way, during in my journey, I have often been accused of being a deviant Muslim. All right. And I'm not just joking. One of my close friends actually went to one Islamic NGO, and somebody in that NGO who knew that he was very close to me actually called him aside and say, you better be careful with Dr. Amir. He's a deviant. Okay, all right. So it's a pity. It's a pity because you look at the stories of the greatest of the Muslims. They are the most tolerant and most friendliest with the people of other religions, and these people, start thinking that I'm a deviant because often I am on the side of the non-Muslims instead of with the Muslims when it comes to questions of justice and fairness and other things. So they think like, this fellow, is he a Muslim or not? He's defending the non-Muslim. Now this has happened in meetings, in the committees. Okay, so the answer is, first you need to be solidly grounded in your own faith, your religion, your principles, right? So once you are solidly grounded, then you act on it, meaning you walk the talk. And this is where, knowing the teachings of other religions, also you take the richness from their religions and apply. For example, I like this teaching from the Sikh religion. He said, right, but this where they go by this adage, right? Truth is important, but truthful living is even more important.
Very nice.
Okay, so every person of every religion to take note of that, because I look at many of my Muslim brothers and sisters. They pray, they do this, they do that, and they read the Quran, blah blah blah. But they don't live. They don't live by the principles of the Quran
Yes.
and the Hadith. So when it comes to, you should look at Malaysia, proudly calling itself a Muslim country, but at the same time, corruption is biasa.
Biasa means normal.
Yeah. All right. Now, once or twice we are the number one corrupt country in the world, and when we become number two, many get upset. No, we should be number one. We should be the world champion, and they're proudly claiming that because Muslim. And definitely, of course, not too long ago, and until now, our former one of our former prime ministers still hold the title of the world's greatest kleptocrat. Kleptocrat. And he's a Muslim. Okay, and until now, he still goes around being escorted by police outriders and not outriders, but by government bodyguards and walking around like a hero. That means corruption and kleptocracy is nothing for them, which is totally against Islam. Which means even though they may pray 5 times a day, they may fast 30 days in Ramadan and even more outside of Ramadan, and do many things, but they don't live by the teaching. They may know about the truth, but they don't understand the truth. And if you don't understand the truth, how can you live a truthful life? Right?
By the way, friends, this is not about judging anyone. This is what is. And we are having a conversation about what is. And it's just the actions we are seeing that we can learn from. I think we want to just clarify this. This is not a political conversation or a religious conversation. This is a conversation about way of life and what we can learn from to create peace in the space. Just to be clear on that.
Yeah. So I'm very comfortable with people of all religions. I look up to them, to the elders as my fathers and mothers. So actually, I have 1, 2, 3 Hindu godmothers. All right, all right. And those who know me here knew that the cardinal, the Catholic cardinal that just died about 1.5 months ago, was my godfather. The former chief Buddhist priest at the Buddhist Vihara in Kuala Lumpur. In fact, he was the chief Buddhist priest of that sect for Malaysia and Singapore. He was my godfather. I have a Sikh elderly godfather. Right, so I regard them all as my fathers, and they love me enough to officially announce that this is my godson.
Yes.
Then I have god brothers and god sisters of various religions, because to me, I must walk the talk. I go around telling people we're all brothers and sisters
of one.
Right. But that's easy to say, right? I want to stand up in front of God on the day that when my time is up and say, my Lord, I really, really tried to make everybody my brothers and sisters, and to love them as much as I can. So I don't have issues about them being different religions, but when we do get into discussions and dialogue, right? So I do not dilute my faith, right, to be politically correct in that discussion. But I convey my beliefs and my understanding of my religion in the most respectful way. And if we disagree, we respectfully agree to disagree, but we don't stop there. I will always insist that when we disagree, we respectfully agree to disagree, but I want to still hold your hand and love you as a brother or sister.
Beautiful. I still remember, I want to give a testimony for that, because when I met you, Dr. Amir, and you invited me immediately when I came into Malaysia for the Chinese New Year dinner, I won't forget that day, because, I hang out with Chinese people a lot. And when I met your network of Chinese friends for their Chinese New Year dinner, which they respectfully held in a Malay halal restaurant for everybody to be part of, they said something, and I would like to, reiterate that. They said that Dr. Amir doesn't promote Islam by being our friends. He just lives the religion so much that we just want to know how it's done. So it's like you create that interest in people by how someone can live a religion and ask about it, more than going out there preaching the religion. I feel that this is a very powerful information that everybody can get to. By the way, for those of you, and we didn't mention that, Dr. Amir, you created a Muslim association to bring together all Muslim associations in India, correct? In Malaysia, correct?
Yeah, not all, but many.
Yes. Yeah, you made that effort to put everybody together. So this is actually the conversation we are having is so powerful, because at the end of the day, all of us see differences and harp on the differences and how we should not get together. Here in this program, we're very excited, and I'm just very reiterating the fact that every moment is a new beginning when we allow differences to agree to disagree. And yet I love that statement you said, hold the hand and say that we are still brothers and sisters of one creator, and that we have to walk this journey as one world, one community. I think you nailed it when you said that. Anything you want to say before we end the session? And normally we end the session with what we call the blessings, and from the Universal Peace Foundation we got the Sarva Sakti Siddhi Yagam, and Dr. Amir is aware of it, so we will say that before we end. But just before we end, Dr. Amir, what do you like to sum up
maybe
this conversation?
Okay, so maybe it will be interesting for the listeners to know that how come you and you are from Singapore, I was from Malaysia, and we met in India in the ashram.
Yes.
In the ashram of this Guru Mahan.
Yes.
Right? And that was in Tirumurti Hills.
Tirumurti Hills in Coimbatore is the airport. Yes.
Okay, all right. So, all right. So you will have to tell the story of how you ended up there, but how I ended up there, that in 1998, right? Guruji has since before that he's been coming to Malaysia and he has many thousands of followers here in Malaysia.
Yes, okay? And all around the world.
Okay, yes, all around the world. He's a global spiritual leader. Then in 1998, actually, I was invited by one of his disciples make an arrangement for me to demonstrate Qigong. Okay. All right, Qigong, to a gathering they were having. I remember the date very well. It was because it was a Merdeka Day gathering by the organization, right? So I didn't know anybody else except this friend who was a member and helped me, approached me to demonstrate. So while I was demonstrating, and there was this guru sitting on a chair in the middle of the stage, right? As you know how they have their program. So I said, fine. And he was looking at me, I was looking at him, fine. Then,
and he doesn't speak that much of English those days. He only speaks Tamil. Those days, just to put the context right here. Yeah, okay. Go on.
Then the next day, then the disciple invited me, would you like to meet our guru? Right. Okay. As I remember, they were staying in a bungalow. At that time, it was a bungalow in Bangsa. It was in 1998. So it will be on the 1st of September. Yeah, because the previous day was 31st of August. So I said, I'll be very happy to meet any spiritual master. So I went. So when I went, of course, I stood, I stood out like a sore thumb, because of all Hindus and Indians. There were one or two Chinese who were waiting to see him also. But to see a Malay coming to Indian spiritual guru's place is not common here in Malaysia.
Yes.
Then they told me also, they say, okay, Guruji requested that you meet his disciple called Mr. Swaminathan first, before seeing him. And they say that Mr. Swaminathan is a reader of Uir Nadi. Right. Yeah, so I've heard of Nadi reading, but I've never heard of Uir Nadi. So I said, okay, fine. So they brought me into a room. And what happened was Mr. Swaminathan was holding a metal plate, right? And when he started reading, apparently, right, it was explained to me later, the readings come in that only he could see and he would read, in ancient Tamil. So even though he could speak English, but to not disrupt the flow,
Flow.
there's another person who was translating.
Sure.
Okay, so it started with the readings about my life until that day. You know, and everything was correct. All right, and then it moved into the present and into a little bit about the future. But what struck me was it says that okay, now the Guruji, Guru Mahan, has been looking for you all over the world. Today you have come to meet him. So, okay. So after the reading, Swaminathan and the interpreter both called me Guru. After the reading, both called me Guru. So I was just stunned. And when I went to meet the real Guru, Guruji, of course my question to him was the Guruji. The readings just now say that you have been looking for me all over the world. Then he said, yes, but I didn't expect you to come this soon. I didn't expect it this soon. Okay. Then I told him this. I said, Guruji, in the last 10 years, in the previous 10 years, God has sent me 3 Sufi masters, right? 3 Sufi masters to tell me that I have a spiritual mission. Now, you are not a Muslim, right? You are also telling me that I am also to continue your spiritual work. And then he looked up and said, same God told your 3 masters, now telling me about you. That's how it was my connection with him. That's the story of how I became close to.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think, go on.
Yeah, so that was in 1998. Then, of course, every time he came here, he always invited me to go to Tirumurti Hills.
Yes.
Then, but you know, there's always excuses.
By the way, what was the year? You want to say that again?
Sorry?
What was that year?
That happened just now. The
You
event,
met him,
1998.
1998. For
September.
almost 10 years, more than 10 years, 12 years, you didn't go to Tirumurti. I remember that was your first trip too.
Yeah, that was my first trip. Okay. So every time he invited me to go, I didn't go. Then one day, there was about 1 or 2 years before my trip, I was in, I saw a documentary on Discovery Channel, a Discovery Channel documentary on Nadi readings. Oh, you know, it's so fantastic. Then I was in Paris for a medical program. In my hotel, the program came out again. Then I was in Australia, Brisbane for
Paris, talking about Nadi reading. Excuse me.
the same program.
Same program. Okay.
I saw it. Then I was in Brisbane, Australia, for an interfaith program. And I switched on the TV. The same program came out. I say, hey, God is telling me something. God is telling me something. So when I came back, I met one of my friends, and she told me, "Oh, I just went for my Nadi reading." I said, "What? Yeah, I must go." All right. So she arranged for me to go and see. So I went. And guess what? In the reading, she said, you have a master by the name of Guru Mahan, right? Paranjoti, blah, blah.
Yes,
He loves you very much. He has been waiting for you to come to his place, right? So I said, oh my God. Right now, the master has been inviting me. I have to get a message through the Nadi,
all over the world.
Yeah, all right. So that's how I then immediately planned my trip and went. And that's
I think this conversation is very interesting because Dr. Amir, after 12 years, you ended up in Tirumurti Hill. And for myself, within 1 month, I was in Tirumurti Hill, and we met at the same time. In India. So this is like a conversation we'll be going on possibly another time. I'll share with you the kind of insights we had. Like, for me, it was an affirmation of the journey that I have been going on. And I've always looked up to Dr. Amir as a star and as a Sufi master for me. And he has been holding back for a while, and I feel like right now he has been, very humbly. He's a very humble man, as I know. So you have really walked the journey in an amazing way. Thank you so much, Dr. Amir. Let's end the session with prayer. As we say, the blessings prayer, which is Almighty's blessing for all of us, is just giving gratitude to every element in the world. So with this session, we can, really anchor that gratitude and love for the world as one. So let's start this. அங்கு இங்கு எனாதபடி நீக்கமர நிறைந்திருக்கின்ற எல்லாம் வல்ல பரிபூரணத்தில் உள்ள பரம்பொருளாகிய பரஞ்சோதி மூலப்பொருளாக முதல் பொருளாக முழுமை பொருளாக ஆதியும் அந்தமும் இல்லாத அருட்பெரும் ஜோதியின் அன்பலைகள் நாமே. அந்த அன்பென்னும் அலைகள் அலை அலையாய் நம் உள்ளம் முழுவதும் பரவி, நம் இல்லம் முழுவதும் பரவி, நம் உலகம் முழுவதும் பரவி சாந்தியும் சமாதானமும் சந்தோஷமும் அடைய எல்லா உயிர்களும் இன்புற்று வாழ பரிபூரண நல்லாசைகள் சர்வசக்தி சித்தியாகம். ஆதியே வாழ்க, நினைவே வாழ்க, நாதமே வாழ்க, பரஞ்சோதியே வாழ்க, விண்ணே வாழ்க, நீரே வாழ்க, நிலனே வாழ்க, காற்றே வாழ்க, நீர் வாழ்வனவே வாழ்க, தாவரமே வாழ்க, ஊர்வனவே வாழ்க, பரப்பனவே வாழ்க, நடப்பனவே வாழ்க, மானிடமே வாழ்க, தொடுவறிவே வாழ்க, சுவையறிவே வாழ்க, வாசனை அறிவே வாழ்க, சப்த அறிவே வாழ்க, பார்வை அறிவே வாழ்க, பகுத்தறிவே வாழ்க, அன்பே வாழ்க, அறிவே வாழ்க, ஆற்றலே வாழ்க, ஆனந்தமே வாழ்க, அழகே வாழ்க, அமைதியே வாழ்க, தெய்வீகமே வாழ்க, தெய்வீகமே வாழ்க, தெய்வீகமே வாழ்க, உலகம் வாழ்க, எல்லோரும் ஓர் உலகமாய் நிம்மதியாய் செழிப்பாய் சந்தோஷமாய் ஆரோக்கியமாய் நிம்மதியாய் தெய்வீகமாய் நீடூழி நீடூழி பல்லாண்டு காலம் வாழ்க. லோகா சமஸ்தா சுகினோ பவந்து. Shanti and Sandosham. That's what we
Santosham, Santosham, and Salam Alaikum.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amir. And it's been a long conversation with you and very, very interactive and very deep conversation we have had. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in and also for sharing with your friends, because this is the time we all need to share peace messages, positive vibes. Just share it on your FB and see how it is creating an energy flow for you, because when you give, you receive in abundance. All these messages for the world, it needs us to share more than ever. So keep sharing your peace, your love and joy that's innately available in you for the world to prosper as one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Amir.